Hey everybody, welcome into the back room. I'm Andy Ostroy. We have quite an episode for you today. It's going to be fun chatting with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. But first, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you listening, and we'd love to hear your comments. So email us at backroomandy@gmail.com and/or post on our social media, and we'll read some feedback next time. And if you like the podcast, please follow or subscribe and rate and review, and you'll be notified every time we post a new episode. All right, a busy week. Let's get right into our two big things. The first being the election. For those of us who care about polls or not, always interesting to see what they have to say. Quinnipiac came out with a poll this week that showed Biden gaining ground on Trump. It has Biden at 48% to Trump's 47%. They were tied at 46% last month. Perhaps even more interestingly, third-party candidates take more from Trump in this poll than Biden. Biden drops to 41%, a decrease of 7 points, while Trump drops 9 points to 38. So that's 41 to 38 with third-party candidates in there. I don't know. I mean, we talk about polls a lot. You know my feelings. I don't really care about polls, whether that shows Biden up or down, like it's 5 months away from the election. These things are going to go up and down like a roller coaster.
That's likely. I mean, they're a snapshot in time, and I think what they do tell us is that this is a very, very close election, and one way or another, a third-party candidate is probably going to determine who wins.
Yeah, you say that. You know, it might be true. I don't know. There's so many moving parts to that over the next 5 months.
I mean, it depends how many states RFK gets on, obviously.
Yeah. So the big question is he going to be around on November 5th when everybody goes to vote, or in the early voting weeks leading up to that? And who knows? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Maybe he's going to drop out. If he drops out. But to your point, there's Jill Stein, there's Cornel West. Both of them are trending, even according to this poll, at around 2% each. That's 4%. That's, in this kind of a race, that's enough to swing for sure, especially in the critical swing states. The Haley factor, really interesting. So this week, she sold her soul, and I'm not sure what she gets in return for that. Donald Trump threw her a little bone from his Bronx rally last night. Hey, Nikki Haley over here, like, maybe she's going to be his VP, maybe she won't. But even if she is his VP and he wins, name me one person in his orbit, to sort of paraphrase from Rick Wilson's book, Everything Trump Touches Dies. Name me one person on a prominent level who hasn't been forcefully thrown under the bus.
Well,
or whose career hasn't been destroyed, and or who hasn't ended up in prison.
Yes, I think that's mostly true. I think the difference here, first of all, I don't think there's any chance he'll pick her, but assuming that he did in this hypothetical universe, that means 2028 rolls around, he can't run again, so it's a very different power structure. For anyone who's his VP actually could run, and he could either support them or not, but he can't run again unless he totally does dissolve our democracy.
I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't change the rules if he won. I think that's a very, very likely possibility.
He'll try.
In this altered universe where she's the VP candidate,
yes.
Of course.
And, you know, as long as we are waiting in the hypothetical cesspool that is Donald Trump, let's go to January of 2029, right? Certification, Nikki Haley, vice president. What do we think she would do? Would she pull a Mike Pence and do the right thing? How much of her soul has she actually sold? This
hypothetical universe assumes the Constitution is changed also. So at that point, I don't think anything matters. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can all pretty much conclude that if Donald Trump wins on November 5th, we're fucked.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
absolutely.
Really no point. November 6th doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Okay, kids. I love the positivity.
Always start with the positives.
All right. And then you got Trump. He goes to the Bronx, seemingly to have outreach to the Black and Hispanic community. If you look at the clips and all the photos, there's really not a whole lot of Black and brown people at this rally. It's really mostly white people.
Well, there's only so much money you can pay people to come to the rally.
What is his motive here, other than to just be a lazy fat ass who doesn't want to leave New York because he's got to be back here on Tuesday for the trial? Apparently, this rally has been scheduled for months, and he had to go because they had no idea that the court schedule would be the way it is. So, like, he had to be in New York yesterday.
But is it a bad idea? I don't know if it's a bad idea. I mean, why not? The polls had been looking in his favor that Hispanics were leaning more towards him. And, what the hell? Why not? Why not try?
Yeah. Well, look, it depends on, like I said, what is his motivation? If his motivation is to get the ability to have a photo and slap some lie on top of it and social media it and continue the fundraising grift.
I think it's hearing the applause and getting that live adulation. I think he feeds on it. He needs it. It's like his lifeline.
Yeah. It's really hard to figure out what really motivates him. He has a huge ego. He does love the applause. He loves the crowds. He loves anyone who pays him attention, a la Kim Jong-un, Putin, Xi, whoever. So then there's the trial. Fun week that was with Michael Cohen and this Bob Costello catastrophe. I mean, I went from early part of the week going, oh man, to holy shit. I mean, they literally ended that case, proving the prosecution's case. That's how the defense rested its case, by literally proving the prosecution's case. Crazy.
Well, they had nothing. Bob Costello was the gift they keep giving. I mean, when he did his G's moment to the judge, that was pretty special.
Yeah.
And then he pretty much admitted that he was pressuring Michael Cohen. I mean, it was good for the prosecution, but whether it matters, I'm not sure.
Yeah, look, you could say a lot of things about Michael Cohen. He'd be probably the first one to say them. He did lie. He was involved in a criminal enterprise. He did take criminal orders from a criminal. He admits to all that and he went to prison for that. That's not a secret. But in terms of his testimony, which they're really trying to discredit, if you just isolated just Michael Cohen, yeah, especially when he admitted to stealing from Trump. But when you wrap it around Stormy and David Pecker and the accountants and the financial bookkeeping people, they all corroborated each other. And then you layer on top of that the real Perry Mason moment, which was Bob Costello. Seems like it's a slam dunk. So to me, it's either guilty or mistrial.
Mistrial.
I'd go with hung jury if I had to put my money on it.
That would really hurt. All it takes is one person. Mm-hmm. One person to go, not enough. Not enough for me. So it's going to be an interesting week. I was down there again this week, spoke to people. It's still unfathomable, A, how people could still be so brainwashed, but B, how there's nobody there. Like, he's made this call to people to come support him, and nobody has shown up. I said, you talk to somebody, there's one person, I said, where is everybody? And she was like explaining to me that they're taking shifts. I was like, no, that makes sense. She goes, no, you don't want to be out here for hours. I'm like, I get it. But shouldn't the shifts be bigger? Like shouldn't there be 500 of you doing the morning shift, And so that's why he's lying. He went up last week in his little hallway rant, and he was like, it's blocked off for blocks. There's more cops here than anybody. And literally, if you go down there, there's I'm not exaggerating, a handful of cops, handful of media, less than 6 people. There's a little encampment set up. I'll go back next week, check it out again and see if maybe because of the verdict coming in that's going to, bring more people. But
it was so quiet. There was nobody.
Well, the thing is, he had this rally in the Bronx last night, right? Where are those people? Why don't they come into the city and stand outside the courthouse, right? Maybe because they've been paid to go to these rallies. Maybe because they just want to go to the show. I've always said, it's why stand in line for hours, sometimes in the rain, to see Donald Trump at a rally? Well, it's because it's the Jerry Springer show. Mm-hmm. So then why would that person want to stand outside a courthouse when there's no show? You're just standing there showing support. That does say something about the loyalty of these people. There could be more people there. And now, he's saying Biden tried to have him assassinated.
So what does that mean? You break down the code. Biden tried to have him assassinated. So what that really means is, watch out, Joe.
Watch out. And stand by and stand back or whatever. He's getting his army ready because, look, they tried to kill me. We can't let that happen. I'm doing this for you, not for me. But the irony is, with that dude, seriously, somewhere Sigmund Freud is being He's so good. I couldn't do projection the way this guy does projection.
Yeah.
Because he wants to assassinate his opponents. It's literally, I know you are, but what am I? Like, it is like 9-year-old shit. It's like, he's like a little kid.
So effective.
It is effective with
Why
people whose
flip
brains,
the record over to the other side?
People with no brains, they eat that shit up. You know? All right, so let's talk a couple minutes about Samuel Alito. Mr. Flag, as I call him. First, he had the upside-down flag. Now he's got some other flag that's like supportive of, some
Appeal to heaven.
some Civil War era revolutionary flag. Either he's the dumbest motherfucker on the planet, or he's so pussy whipped that his wife can do whatever she wants, and he's like, okay, or he is a fucking dangerous insurrectionist.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm going to go with all the above.
Why would a neighborly dispute cause you to put a flag upside down? I'm just like, everyone's had, or many people have had neighborly disputes. How does that get to a flag up? I'm asking, do you know?
I don't know. Whatever happened to letters to the editor? Like,
Well, I mean,
my neighbor is, he's a Supreme Court justice. Like, this is the part I don't get. It's like, when you saw that, you're like, okay, honey, all right. This won't make the news. But it is fucking frightening. Between him and Clarence Thomas,
Yes.
it is terrifying, and they need to recuse from these cases before the court.
good luck on that.
I don't
What'll
know.
happen?
Is there another court above the Supreme Court? Can you appeal?
You have to appeal to heaven.
Well, that's full of really good MAGA Christians, so that should work. That should work real well. All right, let's get to our winners and who the hers.
Well, my loser again this week is Justice Alito. Knowing he will not recuse himself in the Trump SCOTUS cases, and there are no safeguards in place to discourage his blatant lack of impartiality. My second loser is Nikki Haley for her spineless fealty to Donald Trump.
My loser this week is the tech bro who pretends to care, Sam Altman, for having the audacity to clearly copy Scarlett Johansson's voice for his male fantasy ChatGPT interface. My winner, ICC prosecutor Karim Khan, for having the courage to do what was right, even under extreme pressure.
My winner, Fulton County, Georgia DA Fonnie Willis, who, in appealing Judge Scott McAfee's dismissal of 6 counts against Trump and his co-thugs in the election interfering case, demonstrates yet again that she is not to be fucked with. My loser, Samuel Alito, who it turns out flew yet another provocative insurrection and Christian extremist supporting flag, this time at his Jersey Shore beach house, demonstrating once again that he's a major threat to American democracy and religious freedom and should be impeached ASAP. All right, it's time for the weekly rant. So, the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, said he's seeking arrest warrants this week against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his defense minister Yoav Gallant, and 3 leaders of Hamas, all relating to the October 7th attack and the war that's followed, thus creating an appalling moral equivalency between the democratic state of Israel and a barbaric terrorist organization. The ICC's accused Israel of committing war crimes and crimes against humanity, including the intentional starvation of civilians as a weapon of war and attacks against a civilian population. It is unconscionable to say that rather than the death and destruction in Gaza being about Israel's retaliation for the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, it is instead a strategic plan to starve and kill Palestinians. This is not surprising, as the international community has a history of perpetually condemning Israel while turning a blind eye to atrocities being committed all over the world, including right in Israel's backyard in countries like Syria and Yemen, and including and especially acts of terrorism against Israel itself. That's because Israel and Jews have always been, and always will be, an easy target, because it's always okay to spill Jewish blood, because the world hates Jews. But the most infuriating thing about the ICC's move is that it's serving to unite Bibi's supporters and detractors, which is the very last thing the world needs right now. The hypocrisy of The Hague blared Tuesday's front page of Yediot Ahronoth, a popular mainstream daily newspaper that's typically been critical of Netanyahu. The ICC's action broadly galvanized his opposition in his favor, with his political rivals in Israel speaking out in support, while Biden and U.S. officials, previously critical of him, roundly condemning the ICC's action. These arrest warrants are a meaningless, unenforceable, highly offensive, typically anti-Israel, anti-Zionist charade, which only serves to strengthen Netanyahu by throwing him a political lifeline and a new shot in the arm of popular support, while allowing him to portray himself yet again as the perpetually persecuted victim. Neither Israel or the United States is a member of the ICC. This latest action by the court demonstrates why. All right, let's get to Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She's an attorney, former member of the Texas House of Representatives, and currently serves as the U.S. Representative for Texas's 30th Congressional District. Her district covers much of the city of Dallas and parts of Dallas and Tarrant counties. She is a member of the House Oversight and Agriculture Committees, and she has gained widespread popularity as an incredibly strong, important, intelligent, and humorous voice against the right-wing crazies. Congresswoman, welcome back into the back room.
Thank you so much, Andy.
So I got to start, obviously, with Bleach-Blonde Bad-Built Butch-Body. You are a poet. Do you know it? I mean, seriously, this is some epic Bob Dylan level shit right there. How did you come up with those words and in that particular order?
I did not know it. I absolutely don't think of myself as a poet. You know what? I was sitting there and I looked over at her, and because she decided to attempt to describe me in some way, I started at the top. So the bleach blonde was obviously the easy thing to see. And my granny used to always talk about how somebody was bad built. Like, old Black women are always, they just say whatever. And that was my granny. So she used to always call people bad built. And so that was an ode to her. And then, just thinking about her physique in general. And I went with Butch-Body.
So you're saying you made that up in the moment?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Wow. And you don't think you're a poet?
No.
That's spontaneous poetry right there.
I wanted to make a point, and boy, did I make one.
Yeah, well, I have to say, the way you framed it to Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer as a question about rules and procedure without naming anyone was brilliant. And so was that the experienced lawyer talking?
It absolutely was. Essentially, I don't expect there to be corrective behavior for Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's known for just being evasive of the rules and any norms or decorum. But I wanted the chairman to think about how far this could go and what was going to be okay and what wasn't going to be okay. And while she may be disruptive, I definitely wanted him to think about it. But I think so many times the Republicans are just not really used to Democrats clapping back in the way that I was willing to do.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like it was way more to you, it meant way more to you than just a mere diss from her about your eyelashes, that there was a lot more behind it that you were speaking to and where your emotion was coming from.
Yeah, eyelashes in general, not necessarily the end of the world. It was more so where she was coming from and what she was attempting to do to me. Because the MAGA world has consistently, and this isn't to be funny, this is just speaking factually. When you look at the educational level of those that fall into the MAGA crowd versus the educational level of those that identify as Democrats, it's a little bit of a difference, right? And so here it is, I'll be in committee and I'll make points and a video may or may not go viral. And MAGA never comes back with any kind of actual debate. Instead, they decide that they are going to debase me and try to bring me down by associating whatever beautification I go through as something that is ghetto, as something that is lesser than. And they try to basically talk about me, but they basically do all these racist tropes. And so it did hit a little differently because I know that she's MAGA and I know what MAGA says on social media, and I can care less about those social media warriors, those losers out there with like 5 followers trying to become relevant. I could care less. And honestly, I could care less about her as well. But what you're not going to do is think that it's okay at my workplace, in my face, to literally play in my face. Like, that's not going to happen. So it was more so what I knew was behind it and what she was trying to do. And the fact that she sat back, like, and basically, who's going to check me, boo, was her attitude was even more infuriating because they did shelter her, even though they don't like her, because they needed her vote.
Right. Right. You're sort of intimating, or you're directly sort of saying that it felt like a racist attack. Do you think she's a racist?
Oh, I absolutely do. I mean, she would be the one in the room be like, but you know what? I met a Black person at one time.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, I absolutely believe that she's racist. And honestly, I think that she thought, literally in her pea-brain mind, I think that she most likely thought that the only people that may care about what she did to me or attempted to do to me would be other Black folk. I think that she was perfectly fine with that. I think probably what has knocked her off her feet has been the idea that, no, the country unites around their disdain for you, right? Like, whether it's, an older white gentleman that's going to sing country, or we're going to have pop, or we're going to have trap, or we're going to have rap, or we're going to have gospel. Like, it is everybody and their mama that has decided, like, yes, this is our anthem.
Yep.
Because, like, she is the most disliked person of the House Republicans. Yeah. Absolutely. We get polling on this all the time. But she also is the 5th highest fundraiser out of all of the House Republicans. And that's because whatever people do love her, they love her in the form of money. And it's really sad.
Well, you clearly won that whole episode in the grand scheme of things. And, there's certain people I wonder when I see them go after other people, and I'm like, really? You're going after that person? You're going to lose. You're going to lose every single time because they're so much smarter and quicker than you. And that's what happened. It's like she literally like fell into the trap of trying to box with someone who can just beat the crap out of her verbally and intellectually. And that's what happened. I think that's what the world saw. And also, I think it was great that AOC, like, the way she came out, baby girl, like, it was like, we're not playing that stuff. Like, the cavalry, the squad has showed up. But I want to play you something for a second.
Bleach-Blonde Bad-Built, Bleach-Blonde Bad-Built, Bleach-Blonde Bad-Built Butch-Body.
What now?
Bleach-Blonde Bad-Built, Bleach-Blonde Bad-Built, Bleach-Blonde Bad-Built Butch-Body. I'm just curious. Bad-Built, 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 Bad-Built Butch-Body.
What now?
It's amazing. It's amazing what's happened. Like, and that's just one. Like, I went on YouTube and was like, oh my God, there's like 1,000 different versions. And it really, like, are you surprised by the cultural phenomenon this phrase has become?
No, I really am. The songs are great, but listen, in a time when everyone wants to say that, no one cares about politics and no one is turned on by politics and no one wants to listen to politics, it is wild how much has kind of been infused into the political cycle, with literally me just trying to do my job. Like, I was there, but for her, number one, saying it, which was against the rules, and then but for her refusing to apologize, which was supposedly the agreement for her to stay. Like, if she just would have done one of those things, then we wouldn't be here. But I appreciate the culture for sure. And it's interesting because Jared Moskowitz may have been the very first person who heard a song in his head. He sat there while we were in committee and he made a song of it, like, as we were sitting there. And as soon as we got done with committee, he played it for us back on the Democratic side. And we're all just laughing because it's so funny. And he literally just did it sitting there. And so, I think with the recent Kendrick and Drake situation, it just kind of played into what was already going on, especially with how much AI can do. So there's a lot of AI generated songs, but then you've got songs like that one where they're literally just mixing it in. And I had a friend of mine that called me yesterday to tell me that their seventh grader and their senior that had just graduated were singing the song at dinner. They were singing one of the songs or whatever at dinner. And then my friend was like asking, like, what was that song y'all were singing? And then the seventh grader is like, oh, Dad, you don't do politics. You wouldn't understand. And it was hilarious because, like, his kids have no idea that he knows me, right? And so, like, so then the seventh grader talks about, like, what happened and how his teacher talked to them about the situation. And I was just like, oh my gosh, right? Like, there are kids that are learning from this very ugly situation. But I think there is more positive that has come out of this than negative, honestly.
Sure. I mean, look, some people get their news and their politics from TV and art and music, and however they get it is a great thing. And I think if kids are sort of like, I mean, look, any of these versions have an amazing hook. It's a built-in hook. So for music, it's a no-brainer. And if kids can kind of climb on board because of that, then that's great. And then, maybe they start to understand the backstory behind it and why it's the ultimate clapback and why you're standing up, not just as a congressperson, but you're standing up as a woman of color, and also as someone who has a respect for the decorum. I mean, I wanted to ask you, all kidding aside, like, we've always had problems in the House, like the guy who screamed, you lie to Obama, but those were rare. And it just seems like today, and maybe she's the main reason for it, or some, she's one of the main reasons, but there seems to have been like a total meltdown in the House of decorum and the obeyance of rules and respect for the chamber and the institution. I mean, my God, we're talking about our nation's Congress, and it's become kind of a joke. I mean, and it must be a really hard place to work if you're trying to be serious and work with serious people.
No, it is so unserious in the U.S. House at a time when the nation and just everybody, the country as well as the world, really needs us to be some of the most serious, level-headed people ever. We are just the opposite. Interestingly enough, we had that situation. Obviously, it happened last week. And then this week, they decided to censure and take the words down of a Democratic member because he literally laid out the facts of of Donald Trump and how many counts he's facing in the various jurisdictions. And obviously that he actually started his remarks by referencing the fact that members skipped out on work to go to the hush money trial.
Right.
This was not up for debate. This is what they did. This is why the hearing that I had was so late. Like, we've got the pictures. Like, they went on social. We know that that's what they did. And they felt like he violated the rule on engaging in personalities when it came to Donald Trump as a nominee by stating facts. Not by, and mind you, they had been on the House floor talking about how they were talking about the trial and that it was a sham, and that was fine. But if you lay out that he's charged with all these cases, that was a problem, and they shut him down, and he was not allowed to speak anymore on the floor. Now, you juxtapose that with the ruling of someone actually lashing out at a member that is sitting in front of her, and there's no repercussions. It's just like we've had so many censures this term. We've had the kicking out of the speaker, like the attempt to impeach the president. And when that failed, then the failed impeachment that they did on Secretary Mayorkas. And then the hearing that we were in, they were trying to hold the attorney general in contempt. Like, these people think it's a game.
Right.
And it's not. And so, I'm excited because I think that the House is on track to become democratically controlled again. so that hopefully we can restore some normalcy and decency. And when people get out of line, we are absolutely going to check them. Like, she will get kicked off committees again if necessary.
You're 100% right. And that's why people like you are not only so important, but I think you in particular, you're achieving this like cult hero status. There's a new Bloomberg op-ed out this week by Nia Malika Henderson. The header is Jasmine Crockett is the campaign surrogate Biden needs. And she writes of you, her fierce, in-your-face, unrelenting style of engagement isn't for everyone. But this savvy read for filth approach to politics fits this bottom-of-the-barrel moment. She is the kind of surrogate that Democrats, with their kumbaya approach to political combat, need right now. I could not agree more. Are you comfortable with that kind of portrayal, though? Are you comfortable with the weight and responsibility of that kind of a role where you're getting this kind of attention now as like one of the saviors of the future of the Democratic Party?
I definitely don't see myself as the future of the Democratic Party, but because I think Democrats are going to be Democrats, and and my style is probably not super mainstream. But I will say that, you know, I was that person that was sitting on the sidelines that was getting frustrated with politics and what was going on, especially in the age of MAGA. And I just, you know, it's like they'll say anything, they'll lie, they'll do whatever. And then no one takes the time to fact check them in real time. And so you've got people that end up following them and believing them. And so, you know, for me, I always wanted to make sure that I had all of my facts and my data and my information right in front of me. And so that's pretty much the role that I've been playing, is just being a truth teller, right? With actual data behind me. You know, supporting the president and supporting this administration. I was all in before anybody thought I should be officially on the team. My schedule has been really bad. So I hadn't been able to do all that had been asked of me. I think I was asked to go to Nevada the same day that we had the Hunter Biden deposition. I was like, I can't, because I'm like dealing with this, you know, like, so, but I plan to work really, really hard and connect the dots, because I do believe that Donald Trump is a danger to everyone. And I'm hoping that I have enough credibility with the people that they know that, like, I'm not just a stooge. Like, I'm gonna just be very honest with you. And also, like, when I am sent off to speak various places, even if it's not necessarily on behalf of this administration, I make it clear. And I make people feel okay with the fact that they have hesitancy, or that they have questions, or that they have concerns. I think it's wrong to tell people that their feelings are wrong, right? Like, that's something that you can't fact check, is somebody's feelings, but you can actually like deliver the facts and tell them, like, it's okay if you feel that way, right? Like, because no politician is ever going to be perfect, including me. Like, there are people that take issue with me, whether it's my style or whatnot. Like, we just found out that my local paper, they had sent us a thing. They released an op-ed, basically. I haven't read it and I'm not going to read it, but they're trying to basically tear me down for kind of the aftermath of this. And like, whatever, I don't care. Like, everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? Well, but ultimately, there's only one district that elects me. So
yeah, but you know, I think there's been a lot of people saying things like, you know, Michelle Obama, she once said, when they go low, we go high. But we now know that we can't go high anymore. And it's not about going low. It's just about fighting fire with fire. That's just it. Like, you know, you have to fight the war that's being presented to you. And I think you do a very good job of that. My last question to you, we have like 5 months left to go in this election. How confident are you about Biden's chances and about Democrats taking back the House?
I think so long as, well, first of all, I'm absolutely confident that the Democrats are going to take the House. So long as courts don't continue to screw us over, we will be fine. I mean, because it's a matter of let's cheat until we can't cheat no more.
Right.
But I feel very confident that Democrats will take the House. I definitely think there's some buyer's remorse for some folk. And then some other people are like, maybe we shouldn't have sat on the sidelines because maybe the House does matter. So I absolutely believe we're taking the House. As it relates to the president, I absolutely believe that the president can win. It's just about whether or not the communication is done, right? Because, you know, right now it's like, well, people feel a certain way because the information hasn't necessarily gotten through to them. And it is very difficult to communicate in the various ways that we get our information. We're sitting on a podcast right now, right? So like, I do believe that this team, though, is very well aware of those challenges. And that's why you saw the president on Howard Stern, right? Like, that's why you saw him pivoting and doing things that aren't necessarily the traditional things that you think about when somebody is going out to campaign. Not to mention this team has the cash advantage. So I think that combined with the fact that, honestly, House Democrats are some of the most popular people in the country amongst elected officials. So with the right surrogates going out and making sure that we continue to say, listen, this isn't about me as an individual. It's not about the president as an individual or the vice president. This is about the team. And which team do you believe can deliver for you? And I wasn't in the U.S. House last term, but I can tell you that everything that we are currently reaping, all the goodness, the things that are going to bring about the relief that people are seeking, whether it's additional jobs, even though we're at a record low, especially for Black unemployment in this country, like it is because of the actions that were taken in the 117th. That's the reason that communities like mine, where the Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg came down and delivered $80 million to my district to reconnect communities that had been divided with highways that truly eviscerated neighborhoods in my community. But now the investments are being made, or telling the stories about this administration investing so much money and making sure that there's clean air, clean water, clean soil, and not just saying it, but recognizing that Flint, Michigan, there is a Flint, Michigan in every single urban area that you go to. And therefore, I have delivered millions of dollars to my district, whether it was cleaning up Superfund sites or whatever it may be, these dumping grounds that they have made of Black and brown communities that were literally killing them. This administration recognized that. And as I was dealing with the Farm Bill through the wee hours of the morning, one of the things that they really are trying to do is they're trying to take back the money in the Inflation Reduction Act, that money that goes to environmental justice programs and making sure that we are moving towards a greener space in this country. That's what they're trying to do. And we've got to make sure that people know they will tell you anything to get into position, but let's talk about their record. And that's what I think is going to be really important, that House Democrats get out there and we do our part to help get the president and vice president over the hump.
And so with the perspective of a person of color, how concerned are you right now with all the talk about how he's being challenged in that community?
Yeah, I think that I would be naive or just ignorant if I didn't listen. And so, you know, it's interesting. It's like he went and delivered the commencement speech at Morehouse, and they didn't want him there. And after he was done delivering the speech, everybody's like, oh, okay. You know, like it was about getting the information through. And so it's about like, who is it that is going to be somebody that people will listen to, right? And so that's why I say it's important that we do our parts as well. I think that I can be a powerful surrogate just to communicate to people like, hey, if you like me, if you like my policies, and you want to see me be successful, I can't do it by myself. Like, Trump is not going to sign my bills into law. He's not going to do it, right? Like, and Speaker Johnson still ain't brought my bills to the floor. I got some good bills. He won't even let them come to the floor. But I can tell you that if we have Hakeem Jeffries, then those things will happen. So really connecting the dots about how we all have to work together, and also correcting the record on things like the idea that stimulus checks came basically out of Trump's special slush fund or something. That's not what happened at all, right? And reminding people or educating them that, like, the child tax credit that was given, like, up to, I think, $400 a child, you were getting that because Democrats passed legislation to do that.
Absolutely.
That was initiated by them, and it was signed into law by President Biden. But because President Biden didn't send you paper checks and put his name on it, people aren't necessarily aware. But, like, also making sure that for everybody, it's like, y'all don't understand. Y'all just keep saying that the economy is so great. We don't feel like it's great. Well, we all know that the interest rates when it comes to trying to buy a home, they're so high. But the president needs a team that will work with him because he wants to give $400 a month to people that are trying to move in and buy a home. to relieve some of the stress of the high interest rates because he doesn't control that.
Right.
But not everybody knows that he doesn't control the Fed and he doesn't make a decision on what the interest rate is. But he does recognize that that is causing people angst about buying homes or preventing them from buying homes. But right now, we can't get any of his ideas through because we have this disruptive House.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully that's going to change in January. Congresswoman, always a pleasure to have you on. If I may make a request on behalf of the American people, can you please come up with a really cool 6-word hook for Donald Trump that we can hum in our heads as we're jogging?
I think we need to maybe consult with Kendrick Lamar. He may be able to figure it out.
Let's the three of us hop on a Zoom and work through it.
All right.
Take care. Enjoy your holiday weekend.
All right, you too.
Take care. This episode of The Back Room was edited and produced by me, Andy Ostroy. It was co-edited and co-produced by Matty Rosenberg and co-produced by Jen Hammoud. Our theme song was composed by Andrew Hollander, and our logo was designed by Cricket Langell. And special thanks to Patricia Wind. Please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, and also follow or subscribe. Until next time, keep your eyes on Washington, Hollywood, and your own backyards, and have a great week.